Okay guys, so let us start our NSS tonight. I'm going to look over question 1 before then speaking to some stuff on question 2 in terms of theory. I'm hoping by now you would have been able to go through all the appropriate content and that you guys have already been able to start looking through the part. But tonight, obviously, I'm going to go through everything in detail with you guys. So what's important to note is that it is 2 questions, 50 marks each, and to make sure that you obviously answer both questions and to look at that word count when answering them, because the word count is lower. We're going to speak to buffers and all that in a minute, but obviously, you know, you used to more word count for mark allocation, but in this instance that is not the case. So I don't want you guys to go overboard and try put in too much content and then obviously lose marks by going way over word count. All right. So just to stipulate with you guys before we even look into the actual content itself, just remember that if you've gone through your integrity declaration, that you tick on BC, to just take note of the comments or the parameters that are set in place now for AI. If you have used AI when researching all this, you have to tell me. They say you need to get permission from your lecturer, and more importantly, if you have used AI, you have to disclose it on your assessment. So where before your reference list would have been the end of your document, now at the end of your reference list, you have to give screenshots of the prompt questions as well as the full response from the AI, whichever one you use, whether it's Copilot, ChatGPT, or one of the many others out there. And when you are using AI, just to remember that the referencing is not always correct. A lot of them use the footnote referencing. They don't distinguish between the different sources within it. So they can be like a list of footnotes at the end, or like numbers at the end of a sentence, and you don't know what's what. So it can be problematic when using AI. I'm not saying AI is the devil and should be avoided. It's not Wikipedia. But please, if you do use it, to use it sparingly, be careful with it, and that you don't, what's the right word? You don't rely on it so much so that you forget to put yourself into your essays and do the work yourself. Does anyone have any AI-based questions before I get into the referencing side of things? Just to be clear. Like I said, I'm not completely against it. I just want you guys to use it very carefully to make sure that you're not relying on it and not showing your own understanding. No questions? Don't forget, guys, you're welcome to put your mics on if it's quicker to talk rather than type. Nothing? Okay. Then let's get on to referencing. Are you all able to hear me okay? Just talking into a void right now, so I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Cool. All right. So just in terms of referencing, for your reference list, this is the correct reference list for your textbook. So it's taken directly from your module outline. It is correct. Some of you might have a different edition or a different reprint, or you might have a different year. There are many different versions of the textbook which are currently in use, all correct, but there are variations. So please just make sure that you look at your book. If you're using the digital copy through EBSCO, this is the correct reference. And just to make sure that, if you are using your version is of 2018 or 2019, or it's not a second edition or whatever it may be, just make sure you stick to the one and use it the whole way through. I've had students who will chop and change between their textbook and what it says here in the chat, and then it leads to confusion. Stick with the one, keep it like that, and don't shift. Okay, because if you do that, obviously then you're going to have problems, because then I'm going to not know which is the correct or which is the incorrect version that you are working with. And obviously page numbers do vary and differ. Okay, so then obviously in terms of your, I'm just going to make this a bit smaller so I can fit it underneath. In terms of your in-text referencing, if you are unsure of any referencing, please get hold of the library. They will be there to assist you and help you. But in the meantime, if you are working on it and want some assistance, just to say that for our textbook, for in-text, we are free 2017, or if you're doing at the end of the text, at the end of the sentence, free 2017, like that. Okay. Again, just keep it consistent, whatever you're doing. Make sure that you spell Farie's surname correctly, because I've had many different iterations of the spelling. If you have typed it out throughout and you're not sure if you've done it, please just go to find and replace in Word and go and type the correct version and find your alternative and just make sure it's correct throughout. Okay. Your textbook is important. It is needed. You all have access to the digital copy. So, if cost of getting the book was a problem, it's not a problem because you do have the digital copy of it. Please make sure you include it in your assignment. But obviously you need your additional resources as well. So it is important to make sure that you are thinking about, your essays, not essays, discussions as a whole, thinking about the information you're presenting and thinking about integration of sources. So I'm not just getting a regurgitation of the textbook. There's more than enough information out there on especially the apartheid stuff. So please just make sure that you go and find those additional sources. All right. Any questions? Oh, sorry, before I get on to that, please just rather over-reference than under-reference. I know that seems ridiculous, but if you are questioning whether or not something should be referenced, chances are you should be referencing it. Because if you're thinking, oh, I've taken this from somewhere, then reference it. I don't want a single reference at the end of a paragraph. I don't want massive chunks and then only the odd reference here and there. Every thought that you have to do with this stuff is coming from somewhere, which means it needs to be referenced. You do not have original thoughts when it comes to these kinds of academics unless they ask for your opinion. So please, please, please make sure that you are doing the research, referencing it, and also that way then you can avoid the -5 and -10%. If you do see -5 or -10 written on your script, please just go and look at the first couple of pages of your assessment brief, where it explains what a -5 category is and what a -10 is. If you get either of those minuses, you'll be able to go there, you'll be able to see what classifies that. And what I do in my marking is if you have got big chunks without referencing, if you have got poor referencing, if you do the referencing incorrectly, I will mark it off in your script, so you'll be able to see all those red marks, and then you'll be able to go, okay, I need to fix this for the final POE submission. So, think about your referencing, think about what you're doing. If you're unsure, if you're not referencing correctly, get hold of the library. They will happily go through everything with you and make sure they give you further assistance on your assessment. Okay. Any questions when it comes to this, to your referencing? Anybody at all? Okay. All right. Well, let's have a look at your instructions. Okay. So it says that I will obviously use the appendix as a guide to marking your work. Please use that to just look at how the mark structure is laid out in terms of the structure, intros, conclusions, body, examples, all that kind of thing. Please use that appendix as a guide, because I don't want you going and giving tons of information in a particular section where I can only give you 10 marks, where your section where it should be 30 marks, you've given me not enough information. So more than anything, look at that mark allocation, look at how the marks are distributed, and then write accordingly. It does help in terms of balancing of content to make sure that you're putting the emphasis in the right place. The next thing that is important here is that they want you to do have a minimum of 3 sources. There is no maximum. So if you, oopsie, that's not what I was trying to do. So I was trying to highlight. If you are, if you include 10 sources, if you include 20 sources, whatever it is, that is absolutely fine as long as you've got that minimum of 3. So that is obviously your textbook plus 2 others per question. Okay. So the next statement that they have here is the part question. Questions are theory-based with practical application, and require students to apply the knowledge they have learned in class on Learn and additional self-research on the web and the library to complete it. So they are wanting further depth, further understanding and knowledge. So just make sure that when you are writing your answers, that you're not just, like I said earlier, regurgitating your textbook. What I'm going to be focusing on, what I'm going to be looking for when I'm marking, is the discussion, the analysis, the breakdown. So presenting of facts, and then actually discussing and analyzing those facts. All right. Now it says that your lecture will not mark beyond the word count. I will give you a 10% leeway. So that's up, not down. All right. So you can go above, you can go up to 880, but you can't go below the 600. That's just to give you a bit of a buffer when it comes to your referencing in particular, because generally those that are hitting that 800 mark maybe have used quite a few sources. And when you guys are doing your assignments, what you need to remember is that your word count includes everything from your first word to your last word in your discussion. Everything counts for word count. So all your in-text referencing, your subheadings, your everything. So please, please, please don't go and set an algorithm on Word to go and take out everything in brackets to work out your word count, or sit there counting from the start of the question to the end of the question. That is your word count. Pleasure. I just know that it can be a bit tricky when they've got the lower word counts. So you guys can go to that 880 mark. Please remember, I know what 900 odd words looks like. So don't try get to 3 pages and say it's only 800 words. I know it's not going to be. In terms of structure, please, guys, I cannot stipulate this enough. Please use 1.5 line spacing, so that I've got space and that I can actually put comments there and everything. If you just do it 1 line spacing, I don't get space to comment. Delete that. Save as a PDF. Save as a PDF. Shouldn't be talking and typing at the same time. Save as a PDF, because all your settings that you can put in place, because I mark and learn, in some instances, Learn will actually get rid of the formatting if you submit it as a Word document. If you submit it as a PDF, it saves that formatting. Okay. 11 or 12 font size, Arial, Times New Roman, or Calibri. Okay. And no borders. Okay. Again, when you put borders around the page, I know it looks nice. I know it's, makes it all look more polished off and finished. But when you have borders, again, it takes away my writing space for commenting and all that. And because this is important for your assessment, because obviously you want feedback to be able to develop and improve for your final POE. All right. And margins must be normal. Okay, again, I need the space. Any questions on that? No? Okay. I know it seems obvious, but because it's an NSS, I want everything to be very clear. But I know what you guys want more than anything is for me to go through the 2 questions. Okay, so let me go to page 2. Just zoom in your sides, guys. Wow, I'm tripping over my own words tonight. All right, so let's have a look at question 1. So they've given you quite nice questions, simple, straightforward, very theoretical, very simple. It's not, you're not doing multiple sections of work. They're wanting you to focus on particular aspects, and it just gives you the ability to go into more depth on what you choose, which is quite nice. So let's have a look. You're going to select any one key event that occurred in broadcasting below and write a response where you discuss how your event has shaped broadcasting and the media today. So what this question is doing is not just asking you simply to regurgitate and tell me what happened during the apartheid era. You are giving me context, setting the scene, telling me the events that took place, but then, more importantly, talking about how it influenced broadcast or has influenced broadcasting today. Whether that's fighting for freedom, whether it means, having constitutional accessibility, whatever it may be, you've got to relate those concepts to today. Okay, so your choices are restructuring of the SABC, the establishment of the IBA, the broadcasting license 3-tier system, or the establishment of free-to-air channel ETV. Okay. Now, with all of these, what they are speaking to is the change in the media during the apartheid era. As we know, the apartheid era is all very much about, or was about, control, propaganda, censorship, and using the media as a tool or a weapon for the government against the South African people. So it's looking at how different races got different media, different races got different levels of accessibility, they got different stories. There was a lot of stuff that happened within South Africa that was not reported on. Those that were fighting against the apartheid regime were labeled as terrorists, and so on and so forth. So we know that the apartheid era is a time period where there was so much control over the media, and the key thing they did not have was freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to report fairly and accurately, the freedom to actually inform our public as well as educate them. It was all about control. Okay? So what this question is wanting you to do is look at the events that happened towards the end of the apartheid era. So the restructuring of the SABC, establishing the IBA, the 3-tier system or ETV, trying to get you to look at that turning point era. where we went from one thing to another. What is important in this question? Now, I know you've only got 600 to 800 words, but what they're wanting you to do is almost use that turning point as the discussion for referring to the past and the present. So when you're talking about the restructuring of the SABC, for example, you first have to explain and discuss what the SABC was like during the apartheid era. So controlling, funded by the government, used as a tool for propaganda, um, used to enforce segregation. So you would talk about what the SABC was. Then you would speak to how the SABC was restructured and what the shifts were about, um, countrywide access, making sure equal fair media going out to all race groups, that there is no discrimination in place, all that kind of thing. So you talk about that era of what that restructuring was about to explain how that relates to the media today. So, for example, how the SABC, even though it's funded by government, is meant to be a separate entity with no government influence. That it is used as a tool to reach the media, the public, whether it be via radio, live streaming, TV, to ensure that all South Africans have equal access to some form of media today. So it's not just about that initial period of when the IBA was established or when the three-tier system was put in place. You're using it as a comparative point, showing your discussion about how the past, that event, and the present all relate to one another. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. In terms of which of those four to cover, there for 800 words, there is more than enough information on all four of them. So it's very much about which of the four you found interesting and which ones you connect with. It's not about one being better than the other. So, and when you research and look it up and everything, there is a lot of information online. So, what is really important? So, like I said, you've got to have the textbook, but it's where it says here, use examples to illustrate your argument. Oh, that was very wavy. Okay, let me try to be a bit more straight. There we go. Your examples that they're wanting is, say, where let's use the example I've used in class before with Nkandla. We would not have known what Zuma did with Nkandla or the Guptas or anything like that if we were during the apartheid era, because there wasn't the freedom to talk about um, what was happening within the government. That was not allowed. So let's say, for example, with the restructuring of the SABC, your example there would be that the SABC, even though funded by the government, we're able to report on when Zuma got into bed with the Guptas, when he, when it came to him building in Kandla, we're able to find out when billions were of COVID money disappeared. We're able to know those things because we have freedom today that was not afforded to us during the apartheid era. So when you're using your examples, it's real world examples, things that have actually happened in SA, and those you're going to find pretty much all of them in news articles. So where you can show a journalist or a publication speaking freely about something, whether you talk about ETV, bringing in competition, or media freedom, where before it was only the SABC in place. you've got to use actual examples that support your argument. Does that make sense? Please, guys, ask questions, because if I don't know what you're confused about, then I can't give you clarity or help you. Questions? Any questions at all? Sorry about my little chick in the background cheeping. All good. Okay. Very straightforward question. There's no like intricacies or unusual things or anything. It's like, here's the information, present it, be done. Okay. Please break things up into paragraphs. Please just make sure, each of your thoughts, make them into paragraphs. And also, because it's not, it doesn't say write an essay, it says write a response where you discuss. You're not writing a traditional academic intro and conclusion. You can have a couple of sentences either in your first paragraph that open up and give you context to the question, or you can have like a mini intro, but you no thesis statement when you say the following essay will discuss. You would then just say the following discussion will speak to the IABA with the use of examples. Just make sure you don't say the essay, because they've clearly stated they're a discussion, not an essay. Okay. All right. Let's look at question 2 then. Okay. So a lot of you have already been obviously working on Learning Unit 2, and some of you even Learning Unit 3, but the main focus of those learning units are about the function of the media. So the media, as you guys know, it's designed to inform, educate, and entertain. And with that means that it has particular roles within society, and we have all these normative theories to make sure that the media does function effectively, so that we are, that they're not just there for the sake of it, they're there to do something for the sake of society, because obviously it's the media that is put in place by us for us. Okay. And one of the main functions of the media is this political function. So the idea to, inform us about what's happening within our political environment, what's happening in terms of those in power, what kind of power those people have over us. Do they have the ability to influence our media? Do the media report fairly and accurate on these, especially when it comes to elections? Because we do know that there are some publications that do act in a more unethical manner, support a particular political party, and in doing so, they don't give us, very accurate and truthful information. It's more about propaganda promoting a political party. Okay. So our scenario is you've recently been appointed as a media liaison manager at the Independent Electoral Commission, IC, in Pretoria. Yay, go you. Part of your main project is to train junior media officers from the different political parties on how to use the media to campaign for votes freely and fairly in the upcoming general elections on the 29th of May. So you're going to, again, write a discussion, not an essay, in which you explain to them how they can use the political functions of the media to gain voters' positions and interest in relation to the upcoming elections. Now, guys, even though they are putting you into the thing about being the media liaison manager, this is not a, I think I would do this, I feel you should do that. You are still talking in an academic voice. You're still talking in that third person. So please just make sure you don't cross that line, because they've put you into the discussion. Okay. So now, from you guys, when you think about South African politics, and when you think about what is or isn't allowed in terms of the political parties and promoting themselves, what aren't South African politicians allowed to do? Hopefully a bit of that you've been able to do a bit of research on this one already. So what aren't we allowed to do in SA? Like in terms of talking about other political parties, that kind of thing. You guys know? That's okay. I'm just, yeah. So, SON is a whole nother thing because, okay, so technically within the South African media, the political parties are not meant to badmouth each other. They're not meant to attack one another. They're meant to present themselves within the media fairly. They're not meant to obviously report anything unethical. They're not meant to slander. They're not meant to use any attacking tactics that show the other political parties in a negative light that would be considered defamation. Okay, that is, yeah, exactly. SONA, especially the EFF and that, they've really taken things, they take things to a whole nother level. But it is technically, that's why they keep saying you're in contempt. You need to sit down. You are acting unethically. But what a lot of the politicians are going on this idea that it's being recorded, and they would rather they'd rather their view go out then and because it's recorded, it's live and all that kind of thing, they'd rather speak it and then get reprimanded later. um, yeah, Van, I completely agree with that. They take full advantage of the media because they know the media can't censor them. They know the media can't turn off the cameras. They've got to report on what's actually happening, especially the live recording. So they backtrack once they have bad mouth, broken people down, all that kind of thing. So when we think about our South African media, they are meant to be using our politicians and our political parties are meant to be doing reporting in a way that speaks only to the changes or the positiveness or the difference that political party is going to make, not about how the other parties suck. So if you look at the DA or if you look at the EFF and all that, if you look at their posters, they always will put their, we're going to create this many jobs, we're going to be doing this or that or whatever it may be. They're not in any way meant to say the ANC is not doing this, but we will, because when they're doing that, that's obviously defamation. They can't fully prove it, they can't fully support it. So what we are meant to do is use the media in a positive manner. Yeah, exactly. So that no muddling. So if you think about American politics, it's full mudslinging. It's all about attacking. It's all about um, bringing down the other political parties or, the going Republican, Democrat. It's all about pulling up as much dirt as you possibly can. We aren't meant to do that because the reason behind that is that we are meant to be, in a democratic society where everyone has the right to information, truthful, accurate information, as I've always said. And because of that, they are meant to ensure that what they are putting out is only speaking to their own party, and not mudslinging or attacking or anything. They obviously can be very clever with their wording. They can be very clever with how they choose to speak to their party. So they could say something along the lines of, um, you know, in the past we haven't seen this, this, and this happening, but now it's time for a change. They always do something where they're able to, subvert, subtly speak to the other political parties. Um, yes, that's a very good point, Pavanda. Yeah. So we have that constitutional protected speech. Um, and because of that, it's meant to be a more positive approach to democracy. And who knows? You know, because there's so much there is mudslinging at the rallies and all that kind of thing. So, it's just in the media, they have to be very careful, because the moment it's in print or online or streamed or whatever, they know that then obviously they can be held accountable. And now the thing is that how they can be held accountable is by us, by other media and other political parties. So for this particular question, where we're talking about the political functions of the media, it's this political economy. So where those that have the power, those that have the money, have the ability to influence the media, have the ability to reach a wider audience. So, for example, if you look on SABC and all of that, your bigger political parties have got ads, because they have the money and the power to actually produce those ads. Yeah, so social media is where things get a little bit touch and go, because social media now does have its own set of defamation laws and that in South Africa. So they actually do have very specific laws that are in place. So if if political parties and that are recorded officially and also via citizen journalism, and they go and they use those platforms, or if they record it and distribute it, they actually can now be held accountable because of our new social media laws. So in the past, even 5 odd years ago, there weren't those set laws in place. There's been especially new laws being put in place in the last couple of years, and those laws do actually directly impact what is being put out there, because there is the belief that those political parties shouldn't be spewing hate speech and everything. If they are willing to uh, do that kind of thing, they should be held accountable, whether it's traditional media or social media. And also at all these rallies and stuff, there are media present. I know, because my husband used to cover them during the elections. That's where he's been tear gassed, and his friends have been shot with rubber bullets and that, as the media, because those protests can get unruly. Okay. So when we're looking at the political function of the media and looking at political economy, you're looking at page 135. So that is where you will find information, the political functions of the media, as well as when it comes to pluralism and media pluralism, and media being able to needing to report fairly on multiple political parties, and how the media can be used as a means to positively gain voters. So how they do that is through speaking to the party's strengths, telling the audience of what they are going to do, how they are going to do it, and also what's most important in all this, guys, is the media transparency. So page 135, and then also looking at from page 189 onwards. Those are the key sections within the textbook. The other thing you have to speak about here is how the SABC, for example, they have to give all political parties the ability to advertise and distribute information on our public broadcaster. So when they are, so you will see there'll be ANC ads, there'll be DA ads, EFF and all that, but they do the disclaimer saying the SABC has no affiliation to these political parties, because it's the political function of the media is to ensure that everyone has equal understanding and access to what is happening within those different political parties. And it's the political media officers, it's their job for their manifesto, the information, the targets, the aims of their political party to be distributed throughout the different media outlets. So if the media liaisons or the media officers don't fulfill their function, it means those political parties, their true message won't go out to the audience, so obviously then they won't get voted. So what you guys are going to be focusing on here is to think about how it actually works within our South African environment, and most importantly, give actual examples. So where different political parties have released stories in publications, if you are needing to talk to, say, a YouTube video released by the EFF, you can give a screenshot that YouTube video, put the link there, and then you can refer to it and reference it like you do within the reference guide for YouTube. But if you are talking to any videos or anything like that, please just put the links there for me to be able to access it. Yes, I know you're going to reference it, but just put the YouTube link there for me. It just makes life easier, and then it means I can click on it and go and watch it before reading that particular section. If you are wanting to speak to visuals, so whether it's something that's been posted on social media or on a news article or whatever it may be, or on their website, again, you can give me screenshots, you can give me images, just make sure you refer to them. Make sure that you, so let's say you've got a screenshot of a social media post, you've just got to make sure that within your argument you say, as seen in the social media post from the EFF in figure 1, and you refer to it. Okay. Yeah, insert the hyperlink, so not in your in-text referencing, but just as an extra for me. Obviously, I will go to your reference list and I will go find it, but if you're wanting it to be ease of access, just put the link there at the start of your article, start of your discussion, or within it, I don't mind. But the examples cannot be hypotheticals. They can't be made up. They've got to be real examples from this year, end of last year, when it's talking to political advertising and political distribution of information from the parties themselves. So it's not where the media is reporting on them, but where the media liaisons are sharing stories and information. And generally in those, they will state at the top, this is paid for by the DA, this is written by the EFF, whatever. They actually have to stipulate it by law so that we know that it is not, there will be bias, because obviously they're trying to promote their own viewpoints. And you can also refer to the manifesto and the website of the different political parties. Again, you've only got 800 words, guys. You know, it's about finding balance between the theory and the application. But what I want you, for both questions, what I want you to think about is present a fact, present a piece of information. So let's say if you're talking about pluralism, you give me that theory, you explain and discuss that theory, and then you apply. That discussion is where your marks are going to come. So you've got to give me the theory, stating what the theory or the concept is, discuss it, give an example, and then make sure at the end you have a sentence or two that relates that example back to the theory. Don't just give me theory, discussion, application, and leave it at that. That theory and discussion and examples, application, which should be integrated, you still need one sentence at the end stating, through this example, we can see how the use of pluralism is being used within the South African media. Please finish your thought process. Please don't leave me to fill in any blanks. I've got my degree, I'm good. okay? So you've got to make sure that you are not asking more questions um, than giving me answers. So if you are going, oh, I don't know, I don't know if this is making sense, or maybe that's not giving full clarity, fix it, work on it to make sure that it makes sense. Okay? Please no, etc., or and so on, or anything like that, because then you're expecting me to fill in with my knowledge and give you marks based on my knowledge, which again, I've got my degree, I'm good. I need to see your knowledge and your understanding. All right. Is this making sense, guys? Have you got any questions with regards to question 2? What do you guys think? Okay. Any questions at all with the assignment? Or formatting, referencing, anything that's coming to mind? Please make sure you have a cover page and a contents page, guys. Just that cover page, again, just gives me space to write things. Yes, that's the new date, 12th of April. So find 2 real world examples and plan a scenario whilst highlighting what was done and possible improvements. Yes, Pavan? Yep, that's good. Is that for question 1? I'm assuming. For question 2. So what do you mean by possible improvements? Sorry, I was just thinking the changes from apartheid to post-apartheid when I heard possible improvements. So it's not, oh, you mean how they can use it better? Is that what you're meaning? How the media officers could use the thing better? Yeah, you can 100% do that. Or just give examples of good use of political function of the media. So either where they can improve or just highlighting good use of it. Either works. Any other questions, guys? Anything at all? Cool. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me. Obviously, I'm still there. Um, it was originally longer. It also was originally completely different. So, not longer, just different. I think the word count was maybe about 200 words per question longer, so it wasn't by much. But yeah, they've definitely made it simpler for you. All right, guys. Then that's it from me tonight. I will see you guys again in 2 weeks on the 8th, but I will be sending out some videos beforehand just to fill the gap. All right. Have a great evening, everyone. I'll chat to you soon. Bye.